Hi everyone, I thought for a bit of fun and a change of pace we'd take a look at an old box set, something that has been out for a while that maybe not everyone managed to get hold of at the time. So we're going to take a look at Station to Station, the David Bowie album from 1976. Now EMI reissued this as a box set in 2010. And this is kind of unique because it's really the only David Bowie album that's come out as what you might describe as a traditional super deluxe edition box set with vinyl and CDs and DVDs and printed material and all sorts of badges and bits and bobs. So none of his other albums have come out anything like this. And of course, you know, the current campaign is to put albums together and to collect them all in a box, but this was one album. This was a true super deluxe edition, one album with lots of, as I said, lots of different elements to it. It's not available anymore. It's quite sought after, so if you want to get hold of one, you're going to have to pay quite a lot of money through Discogs or eBay or whatever. So let's lift off the lid and take a look. Because there's vinyl in here, it's quite a big box. It's, you know, 12 inch by 12 inch. You can see the thickness there. Rather annoyingly, it doesn't say anything on the side, so when you've got it on your shelf it's just a blank spine, which is kind of irritating. But they have reverted, EMI reverted back to the original black and white cover. Now this album had been out on CD a few times before. The first CD was an RCA disc, which would have been sort of 84, 85 that came out. And then in 1990, Replica disc reissued the album. And for their reissue, which I've got here, they went to this colour cover. And on their reissue, they had two bonus tracks, which were live tracks from the Nassau Coliseum gig. And then EMI then reissued it again in 1999, and they reverted back to the black and white cover, I think, then. And there may have been another one in between, I can't remember, but 2010 was when they reapproached it and they did a proper campaign around Station to Station. So as well as this box set, you could also get the album on its own, and there was a 3-disc version which came in a little lift-off lid box which had the 2 discs of the Nassau gig in full and the new version of the album. But we're looking at this box set, and you know, reasonably weighty. It looks good, certainly. You know, this was kind of an interesting thing to do in a way, because in 2007 they'd reissued Young Americans, and it was just a little dual case CD and a DVD with a 5.1 surround mix. So in those 3 years, EMI went from doing a small 2-disc kind of $12.99 Young Americans to doing this box set for Station to Station, which was quite a leap. So it's you kind of wonder what the mentality was. This 2010 was sort of the cusp of the birth of the getting into the big box set. I mean, 2011 was when Pink Floyd did their reissues. 2011 was also the start of Super Deluxe Edition, which is why this wouldn't have been covered on the site originally. So we can look at the back listing. Let's just quickly go through what's in here. So there's a CD of the album, which they call the original analog master. It's very interesting how they word this, because they don't say it's a newly remastered edition. They say it's the original analog master, which suggests it's some kind of flat transfer. Now whether it was that or not is up for debate. I'm sure they might have tweaked it a bit, but CD1, they're calling it the original analog master. Now CD2, this is the really interesting bit. CD2, they basically replicated the mastering from the RCA CD, which was, actually I said 84, it was at 85 that came out. It's the first and only time they've ever done this. In some quarters, the RCA CDs are regarded as, you know, the go-to versions, but it does vary from album to album how good they are, and whether you've got a Japanese pressing or a US pressing, etc. But anyway, so that's CD2. CD3 is a load of single edits, which are kind of inessential but interesting to have. And then CD4 and 5 is the Nassau Coliseum 76 gig in full. I think it's 2 discs, and then the 5th disc is a DVD, which, but it has lots of good stuff on it. I mean, it has the original, a high-res version of the the original analog master, as they call it. It has a 5.1 surround mix, which is not regarded as particularly great. I mean, it's like open to debate, but at least it is a 5.1 mix. And you also get a new stereo mix. So there's the 3 key components of that DVD. And then this, unlike now where the vinyl and the CD box sets are separate, this box contains vinyl as well. So you get station to station on vinyl, and then you get 2 vinyl records that cover the live gig. So that is what is inside here. So let's lift off the lid and take a look. Any collector worth their salt, you always keep the backing sheet, so that's what this is. It's quite interesting, the wording, they call this the ultimate fan experience. I don't think they'd ever use that now, but that was how they were promoting this at the time. They even had a website, ultimatefanpage.com, David Bowie. I bet that doesn't exist anymore. And gives you a little bit of a list of all the extra stuff, but we're going to look at that in a minute anyway. Now this is one of these things where the vinyl also has pockets for the CDs. So this is station to station, kind of on vinyl. It's got some funny marks there, but anyway. And then when you open it up, then you get, obviously you can see the optical discs there. So inside here, what you get is, you get the vinyl record, not in a polyline sleeve, can you believe? So I can't remember how much this was. It's probably like 60 or 70 pounds, maybe it was more than that, but. So there's the original analog master of Station to Station. As I say, this paper sleeve is a bit of a disgrace for this box set, but this is a glossy insert. This replicates what came with the album originally. Great typography, looks good. And then these are the discs themselves. So they've done their best to kind of replicate the original RCA design, but it's got Bowie there on the side. So that's the album. This is the RCA master version, 1985. They're the single versions, all the edits. And this is the DVD, which contains the 5.1 mix, the new stereo mix, and the high-res version of the original analog master. It's not a DVD-A, which they could have done. This would have been a bit early for a Blu-ray, but they could have put it on SACD, they could have put it on DVD-A. They chose not to do either of those things. So that's the album with the optical discs. And then this was very heavily bootlegged, this Nassau gig. As I showed you earlier, there was 2 tracks. Only 2 tracks had been officially released prior to this 2010, and that had been 20 years earlier with the Ryko version. Same kind of design here, so it's all repeated on CD there, and it's all worked up in the same style and design as Station to Station. Same thing, these aren't polyline sleeves, but they're black this time. I mean, it really is ridiculous trying to get these in and out. Here's the second album for the Nassau gig, same sort of thing, looks identical. I don't know whether it's better on the vinyl, I haven't really done a comparison, but the mastering for this live concert got really heavily criticised because it's very, very compressed. So that was pretty disappointing. You wait 20 years for the whole thing to come out, and the mastering is not very good at all. So that's that. Now this next section is what we sometimes call as TAT in SDE. That might be a bit harsh for this. There's some good stuff in here, so let's have a look through it. This is all replica stuff that came out originally, so there's a replica ticket for the Nassau gig, quite interesting. How much was it? $9.50, there you go, to see Bowie in 1976. A series of glossy promo photos. There we go. And this gives you some details on the band at the time. So Dennis Davis, George Murray, Carlos Alomar, Tony Kaye. Old style press release, you know, staple in the corner and all that. This was like a press pack really. It's got RCA records on it. It's funny, they've got RCA here, but they haven't used it on the, they're not allowed to use it on the actual CDs. This is a fan club wallet replica thing. So, picture of Bowie. Another picture of Bowie. Biography, David Bowie, History of a Superstar. So it gives you his discography up to that point. TBC 15 is like the last single, or the latest single. Lots of other stuff in here. This is them trying to cross-sell the Jeff McCormack Station to Station book. Not exactly sure what that is, but anyway, it's just a little photo of Bowie. Here's your membership card. Another photo of Bowie. And this is your official international fan club certificate. Quite interesting, I suppose. So that's that. It's got the address on it and everything. Right, so this is your kind of traditional booklet. This is probably like the CD booklet, but just bigger. So these are lyrics. It's kind of diary, chronology. Yes, that photo there is from the same session as the Who Can I Be Now? So this came out in 2016. So this followed 6 years after this box set. Actually, there's some technical notes here which might help us with what's going on with this mastering. It says there's two versions of the original album. The very original that was used for the vinyl and a master made for the RCA CD release in '85. The transfer from the analog tapes used for the very original album was made from the Hit Factory master tapes at a resolution of 96 kHz 24-bit through an ADA 8 analog to digital converter. The master tapes were recorded with Dolby A. Blah blah blah. I won't bother reading all of this. What it does say is there was no analog processing during the transfer. Once in the digital domain, the audio was topped and tailed and the two sides joined together with an appropriate gap. No other digital processing was undertaken in the digital domain for the DVD 96 24 PCM stream. The CD version was sample rate converted to 44.1 and noise shaped to 16-bit with no other processing. I think what they're saying here is this version of Station to Station in this box set, this master, this original analog master, is about as close to the original master tape as you're going to get, more so than the 2016 remaster that came out. So, you know, make of that of what you will. It says there was two masters. So there was one master made for the RCA CD and the original master. So that's quite interesting. So the original, it's more or less a flat transfer effectively. And then it says here about the RCA master version was taken from a 1610 digital master recorded at 44.1 16-bit and transferred digitally to a digital audio workstation, and a new master prepared for manufacture. No additional processing was done. Basically, it's about as pure as it gets, those two, the original album version from the original master, and then, you know, the RCA master as that existed at the time. So that's quite interesting. On the back here, they've repeated the colour cover. So it's pretty. This booklet is actually really good. And then what's left is a massive poster, which I don't think is particularly good. There you go. It's quite grainy the way it's been blown up. It's not particularly well framed. There's like a massive space above Bowie's head. The rear of the Ryko CD had an image from the same session, not the same image, but a similar one. Actually a better one, I think. And then last but not least, you get two badges. That's the Man Who Fell to Earth design. Another design here which looks fairly cheap, but there you go. And that's it. That's the contents of this box set. So poster, booklet, fan club pack, facsimile press release, double album and double CD of the Nasu gig, Station to Station, original analog master on vinyl and on CD, along with the RCA CD master, the single edits, and the DVD with all the various versions of the album on it. Backing sheet reserved for posterity, and the lid goes on. That was the alternate image that I was telling you about from that poster. I think that's actually a nicer image. So there we have it. I hope you've enjoyed this look back at the 2010 Station to Station, basically what was a Super Deluxe Edition box set. It wasn't called that at the time, but that's what this was. I hope you enjoyed that. We're going to take a look over the next week or two at a few other older box sets just for a bit of fun. But for now, this is Paul from Super Deluxe Edition taking a look at the Station to Station David Bowie box set.